Our top stories today: inflammaging can be a serious health risk. What is it? And why breast cancer rates are rising, especially among younger women. And also, a new study looks at whether improving your nutrition can reduce anxiety. Welcome to Health Channel News. Starting us off, have you ever heard of inflammaging? Well, it's a combination of inflammation and aging that experts say we should all pay closer attention to. An article in the Wall Street Journal highlights that as we get older, our bodies can experience a low-grade form of chronic inflammation. This stealthy condition is linked to serious health risks like heart attacks, cancer, and Alzheimer's disease. One doctor from the National Institute on Aging is quoted in the article saying inflammation is an intrinsic component of all chronic disease. He makes the point that it can start small, but over time it builds up and does more harm than good. Studies show that people with higher levels of chronic inflammation have a much higher risk of death and diseases, including a 7 times greater risk of death from any cause. For women, the risk is even more alarming. One researcher at Brigham and Women's Hospital found that women with high inflammation levels have a 70% higher risk of heart attack, stroke, or death from cardiovascular disease. So, what can you do about it? Well, experts recommend simple steps like regular exercise, getting enough sleep, and eating a diet rich in fruits and vegetables while cutting back on red meat. Scientists are continuing to study this condition, and doctors are pushing for better tests to detect chronic inflammation early. For now, though, it's all about prevention. For our next story, according to NBC News, a new report from the American Cancer Society is raising a concern that while breast cancer deaths have dropped significantly over the past few decades, breast cancer diagnoses continue to rise, especially among younger women and Asian Americans. One oncologist expressed concern, saying, "That is very alarming because we know that screening only starts at age 40. It's not just one racial or ethnic group affected. We are seeing it across the board." Also alarming is that breast cancer diagnosis in Asian American and Pacific Islander women under 50 have surged dramatically in recent years. Doctors are pointing to factors like environmental exposures, rising obesity rates, and sedentary lifestyles as potential causes for these increases. However, they stress that more research is needed to understand exactly why younger women are being affected at such an alarming rate. Despite advances in treatment, racial disparities in breast cancer outcomes remain a significant issue. Black women, for example, are nearly 40% more likely to die from breast cancer than white women, even though they are 5% less likely to be diagnosed with the disease. Experts say access to early detection and cutting-edge treatments is critical to closing this gap. The report calls for expanded access to screenings and treatments, highlighting that unequal access to healthcare continues to contribute to differences in survival rates. In Canada, Ontario has just lowered the age for mammogram self-referral to 40 from 50, meaning women 40 and older can now book a screening without a doctor's referral. For our last story, we're discussing some fascinating research on the connection between nutrition and mental health, specifically anxiety. A recent pilot study from the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine has investigated whether dietary counseling combined with omega-3 supplements can help people with generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD. GAD is one of the most common mental health disorders, affecting nearly 9% of Canadians at some point in their lives. It's characterized by excessive, often uncontrollable worry, and it can be accompanied by physical symptoms like restlessness, fatigue, and trouble sleeping. Traditional treatments for anxiety disorders usually include psychotherapy, medication, or a combination of both. However, this study offers a fresh approach, one that could provide additional treatment options for those who may not fully benefit from the conventional methods. In this 12-week trial, participants who had been diagnosed with GAD received bi-weekly dietary counseling and omega-3 supplements. Omega-3 supplements were a key component of the trial due to the omega-3's potential to regulate inflammation, which is increasingly linked to mental health issues like anxiety and depression. The results? Participants who completed the program experienced, on average, a significant decrease in their anxiety symptoms. In fact, their scores on the Beck Anxiety Inventory, which is a tool used to measure anxiety levels, dropped from a severe category to a mild category. The study's lead researcher said the emerging evidence creates a rationale for the inclusion of nutrition professionals in mental health care teams and the use of dietary counseling in the treatment of mental illness. She hopes this pilot study will spark larger studies and eventually changes in how mental health care is approached in Canada. Those were our top stories for today. Thank you for joining us on Health Channel News.